Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new League of Legends video. It's that time once again to take a look at a lot of big changes coming for the next patch, a bunch of reworks and even some leaked information. But before this video starts, I do have a quick sponsored message. So GG Esports is going to be a sponsor of the channel, and it's a website where you compete with your friends to see who's able to predict the outcome of games, especially the ones that MSI better. The best part is it's not a betting website. You don't use real money, you use their website currency that you get just from signing up and doing some bonus features, and you'll accumulate points by winning predictions. But the best part is you can actually still win rewards. You can win rad points, you can win laptops, iPods, iPhones, a whole bunch of really cool prizes. Now at the end of the video, I'll show you guys exactly how to use this website and how you can bet on teams, so definitely stay tuned for that. Alright guys, so the very first thing I want to talk about in this video is actually going to be essentially a leak of EVELYNN's rework. Now the abilities aren't leaked or anything like that, but not only is it essentially confirmed that EVELYNN will be in fact getting a rework, which proves the leak that we had several months ago to be true even further, but it also seems like her skin assets have been put on the PBE, maybe by accident too soon or something, because it looks nothing like the ones that she currently has on the live servers. As you can see in these images, it looks very strange because all the skins are essentially put flat on the ground before they're actually, essentially installed on the champion in a 3D fashion. They're all laid out essentially in a 2D fashion. So you can see in the first one at the very bottom, her face is right there, which obviously looks nothing like the current EVELYNN. At the top you can see what I'm assuming is going to be kind of the thing that goes over her head, maybe like a mantra or something. And it looks nothing like her, which also obviously proves even further that this is in fact going to be for the new EVELYNN. This is going to be more or less her new look, and EVELYNN's rework is 100% confirmed, and it's probably coming sooner than we may think. But next, let's finally talk about the actual changes and balance changes of this patch. The first of which is going to be Fizz. Now, Fizz has been a very strong champion in the meta, whether you play him AP mid lane or you go the bruiser kind of Triforce tanky Fizz top lane, which unfortunately has returned and it is as annoying as ever. Well, it seems like these changes are going to be a nerf to top, but a buff to mid. The AP ratios on his W have been increased pretty much in every aspect of the ability, while the base damage on it has actually been decreased. But the base damage has not actually been decreased that much. It's only 25 damage by rank 5. It is something that you do max first when you play tank Fizz top lane. You do max W. 25 damage, not the worst thing in the world, but regardless, the idea of this change is definitely to nerf tank Fizz top and instead make AP Fizz mid lane, the true assassin playstyle that you should be played in, more tempting. Following this, we also finally have some nerfs coming over to Graves. Graves has been a top tier jungler for a long time, and even though he's slightly fallen off this patch, when you have someone like Ivern just being that much better, and maybe even Sejuani, he's still definitely up there. So Rad is finally releasing the nerf hammer onto Graves and overall reducing his Q damage, the base damage and everything, but slightly increasing the second part bonus AD ratio. So TLDR, the initial base damage on his Q, especially early game, is going to be just flat out weaker. His early game has gotten a nerf, and also if you don't build just damage on him, it should be technically or theoretically weaker. But if you start building him a bit more offensively and a bit more actual AD stats, he should be overall stronger as the game progresses. Next up, we have one of the bigger changes coming to this patch, which essentially is going to be a Heimerdinger rework. So this one kind of came out of nowhere. Heimer, he's kind of a champion that you don't see very often. He's not played very often, and it is a little bit random that he of all champions out of nowhere got these pretty damn big changes, but regardless, here they are. His HP regeneration across the board has been lowered. His new passive helps him move 20% faster around towers and his own towers. His Q ability is a little bit different, where the towers now do half base damage but a double an increase of the AP ratio on it. The cooldown has been adjusted to be slightly shorter. The amount of turrets is always going to be 3 regardless of the level of the ability, which is a pretty damn good thing. Now this is the one that may seem a little bit weird. The beam attack time to charge has been increased from only 16 seconds all the way to 90 seconds. And even further, the turret beam damage has also been lowered by 20 at all ranks. So you may be wondering why the hell the beam charger has been increased by so damn much. Well, it'll make more sense as we finish off the kit. Because his W now not only has its cooldown lowered and the mana cost also lowered, but each rocket that hits an enemy champion charges 20% of nearby turret's beam attack. So it seems like Heimer is getting somewhat of an Aatrox rework type effect, where now he has certain abilities that you obviously want to land and use them essentially, and based on how well you use them will power up your other parts of your kit. But moving along, his E ability, the grenade hitbox has actually been increased so you can actually stun easier. The cooldown has actually been changed to be 12 seconds at all ranks rather than starting at 18 and all the way down to 10 by rank 5. And on top of this, a new effect on the E, a successful E hit on a champion charges all nearby turrets to full beam charge. So I feel like like you can get some crazy synergy going on with his abilities. I mean, get the turret, use the beam charge, let it automatically hit a champion, follow up with an E. If it lands, it's another full beam charge on the champion right after, and it seems like you can do a lot of really cool things. And last but not least, if you use his ultimate followed by the E ability, which is the stun, well, the base damage has actually been increased by rank 2 and rank 3 of your ultimate. But let us move along to the next change happening of this patch, and is going to be none other than Ivern, arguably the best jungler at the very moment. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like the nerfs are really all that much, because the only thing that's actually been changed is the fact that, well, his base movement speed has been lowered, which, I mean, I guess that's gonna slowly hurt his jungle path and maybe his counter jungling, but not by too much, I would assume. Followed by this, his passive, where you obviously use it on jungle monsters to kill them, has had its health cost and the mana cost pretty much increased across the board. So I mean, regardless, this is definitely going to be a nerf to Ivern's counter jungling especially, but I mean, I don't think it'll be too bad. He's still going to be somewhat unpredictable, and you still can't really stop him from what he wants to do and take the double camps early, but maybe I'm wrong, and maybe this will actually put him out of the meta, even though I doubt it. Following this, we also have some very quick nerfs happening to Lee Sin, where his movement speed has also been lowered, and his ultimate's cooldown has been increased by 20 seconds rank 1, 10 seconds at rank 2, and back to the same by rank 3. Not the biggest nerf in the entire world, but it will hit his early game by just a bit. So Riot is targeting the correct champion so far, pretty much the strongest in each respective role. Next up, we also have Lulu. Now, Lulu is by far the best support at the very moment. She's pretty much always banned or picked. But it seems like Riot is well aware, because they're not only lowering her overall HP, but they're also nerfing the shield strength on her E ability, lowering it by 30 by rank 5 and only 10 at rank 1. Again, I don't really think this is that big of a nerf. I mean, yeah, it's gonna hit her, but I don't think this will bring her out of the meta. She's still gonna be pretty damn strong. Polymorph is still insanely good on her, and in my opinion, one of the biggest reasons people like to play Lulu. She's still gonna have the crazy harass potential in lane, and I really feel like this is a pretty lackluster nerf to arguably the best support at the moment. But following this, we also have some changes happening to Maokai, and they're actually pretty funny, because essentially what they're doing is buffing up his Q ability to make it more, I guess, tempting to want to max and just to play around, but in a very weird way, so I still don't really understand why. But in turn, they're also nerfing his E ability, because, as I'm sure you guys know by now, support Maokai going AP is obnoxious. It does an insane amount of damage, and it's just not fun to play against. It's literally a worse version of Teemo in the sense of it's just more annoying. So the sapling base damage has actually been lowered by a decent amount, 20 damage. I mean, it's not too bad. The cooldown has also been increased per rank. But to sort of compensate, the target max health damage has been actually increased all the way up to 8% at all ranks. So all in all, I mean, it's still going to be decently effective later on into the game, but they're trying to nerf the first half of the game in terms of how annoying these saplings can be. I feel like they're doing it the wrong way. I feel like it should be the other way around. Because to me, the early game isn't really all that good. People can learn to play around it pretty easily. It's late game that the saplings become a true problem, and I think that's still going to be very much of an issue. Following this, we also have some quick buffs happening to Rakan, or at least I think they're buffs, because the range on his Q has been increased by 100, finally, because the range of this ability is just so ridiculously awkward. The damage on his W has also been increased by 20 by rank 5, which I guess they're trying to make you want to max your W instead, because his E, the shield, has actually been lowered by a whopping of 40 by rank 5. Now following this, we also have a rework happening to Rammus. Now I did make a video specifically talking about the Rammus rework, so I highly recommend checking that out for the maximum coverage, but I'll try to go over it very quickly. His passive is now essentially an on-hit bonus magical damage effect where it scales off of his armor. His Q ability now can go much faster, but the spell is not considered a channel and it can be interrupted. His W is still very similar in principle, except now it actually finally slows Rammus by 60%. You can toggle it off early, but while the W is active, Spike Shell, which is his passive, actually deals 150% bonus damage and also deals Spike Shell's damage back to the enemies that basic attack him. So essentially your W just steroids up your passive. But to make this even better and to make the synergy make more sense, his E ability now, whenever you finally taunt a target, will actually give you up to 40% bonus attack speed, and the attack speed consistently gets refreshed while any of Rammus's other spells are active, so like his W, his ultimate, and then you have his ultimate, which had his damage reduced, but it now slows your enemies, stacking up to 8 times, and it deals double damage to structures. It's a little difficult to say for sure how Rammus will be played after this rework, since he now seems to work off of attack speed decently well. Maybe some bruiser attack speed Rammus top lane could be a thing now, I'm not entirely sure, but we'll let the meta play out and we'll let the game play itself. Next up, you also have some changes happening to Riven, nothing directly actually to the numbers or the actual, damage she can deal or whatever. Instead, it's more of just kind of passive things that happen to her with animation canceling. There's a huge post on it. I don't really want to go too much into it, but if you want, I'll link it down below. You can read it for yourself. Essentially, again, a bunch of different cool animation cancels you can now do. Sejuani also ended up getting a nerf, even though she's pretty much never played because she's permanently banned, so maybe this will put her off the pedestal. But regardless, her passive, the cooldown, has been lowered from 9 at all levels to 15, 12, and 9 at levels 1, 7, 14. The thing that's awkward is I don't even know what the main issue of Sejuani is. I mean, I know she's really strong, but I don't know exactly why she's strong because she's literally permabanned and I pretty much never see the champion ever. So whether or not this nerf is enough to bring her back down a few notches, I'm actually not entirely sure. Following this, we also have some Udyr changes where the mana cost on pretty much every single ability has been lowered by 5, and that's actually about it. Kind of weird. And then finally, we also have some Zac buffs happening to his overall kit, where his Q ability now actually has a 3% health scaling, but the base damage has been lowered by just a bit. The AoE of this ability and landing it is just overall better and easier, and it just simply works better as an ability, especially when targeting jungle monsters. Following this, his E ability, the knockup duration, now scales up to 1 second based on how long Zac charges before release. And finally, his ultimate, the time to fully charge this has been increased from 1 second to 1.1 second. But the full charge slow duration seems to be increased by 0.5 seconds to 1 second. So some solid changes to Zac's Q ability that'll make the ability just overall better and easier to use and more fluid, but other than that, I'm not entirely sure if it's enough to really make him all that amazing, especially compared to the other junglers. And the last thing I want to quickly talk about is going to be Pulsefire Caitlyn, an 1820 RP legendary, I believe, skin coming out very soon. I mean, it's a gorgeous skin. I have a full gameplay, highly recommend checking it out. And of course, on top of this, Pulsefire Ezreal has also been updated. Now, before we end off the video, let me show you guys very quickly how to bet on GG Esports. So here's how the website works very quickly. You press the bet now button beside the game that you actually want to bet on, and you'll see a big screen giving you several statistics, things to look at, and different ways to bet. So in the first example, you can bet on the whole series as a whole, and you can bet on who will actually take the whole best of 5 series, who will win the whole thing. So in this case, I definitely think it's going to be SKT. I go ahead and put down 2,000 total of the currency on the website, which gives me a grand total of, you can see right there, 2.3 in return, and that's the bet. And if you want, you can bet on as many things as you want. For instance, you can go into specifically game number 1 and then start betting on who do you think will take game 1. In this case, I still feel like it'll be SKT, so I'll go ahead and bet on that as well, and there you go, and that's exactly how it works. It's really that simple. There'll be a link to the website down below. I highly recommend checking it out. Completely free to play, no real money, not an actual betting site, just fun against your friends and winning prizes. But I thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, definitely hit it with that like button. Make sure to check out GG Esports down in the description below. It's completely free to play, no real money. It's all for fun, and it is a lot of fun. But thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't, like the video if you did, check out my other videos, and hope to see you for the next one. Peace.